Hi, morning all. No, afternoon actually. It's Chris Thompson here, and I'm from the AIPO, which of course is the Alliance of International Property Owners. Advice on international property ownership, buy right and own well. I'm joined by Dixie Mitchell. Hello, Dixie.
Hello, everyone. Nice
Hello,
to talk
hello.
to you,
How are
Chris.
how are you? All right?
I'm very good, thank you. Very good.
Good, good, excellent. Well, Dixie Mitchell is from Mitchell's and IPP Spain, and we are going to discuss the area of Fuengirola.
That's
I'm
it.
probably saying that the English way. I don't know if it's Fuengirola. I hear so many different options. I think we'll just stick to Fuengirola. It's just easier.
That's good. That's good.
That's the way to do it. Good. So yes, we're talking about Fuengirola today and what makes the area so special for anyone looking to buy. Before we do that, Dixie, I think it would be great just if you give us a little bit of info about kind of Mitchell's and kind of your background, really.
Okay, yes. Our original state agency started as IPP Spain. We've been established now nearly 22 years. And since 5 years ago, we extended to a new branch called Mitchell's, which is obviously my surname. Mitchell's specializes in the luxury end market. Um,
Okay.
we have three offices. Two of them are in Fuengirola, and the other one in Marbella. But we're going to focus on Fuengirola today.
See,
Um,
Fuengirola. That's it.
there you
I thought we just said
It's
we'd
a lot
say.
easier. No, I think people understand it more the way you say it, so we'll stick to that.
Okay,
So yes,
that's fine.
it's been established and have a team of like 10 working in the offices, and I love my job.
Excellent. Good. So why Fuengirola? I mean,
Okay,
I know that's a really broad sort of opening statement, but why Fuengirola or Fuengirola?
Okay, actually, I think Fuengirola area is quite unique because it's a town that is open all year round. It's not seasonal, and I think that sort of differentiates from some other areas on this coast. You'll find that it's a very authentic Spanish town. It has a beautiful promenade that is 6 kilometers long that hugs the Mediterranean. And this area is from one end of Fuengirola is like the castle area, to the other end is Carvajal, which is beaches, and there's no roads. So it's a very manageable town, and also geographically it's a flat surface, which is very attractive for elderly people. It's just very easy. Fuengirola is not very big town. It has more or less about 86,000 people population,
Okay.
but there is a very big percentage of international nationalities here. I think altogether there's 140 different nationalities living in the town.
Wow. Okay. So it's really good from an expat point of view.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah,
Okay. That's
yeah.
good. Excellent. And what talk to me about kind of the various activities there. So for families, for couples, for expats. Talk to me about kind of yeah, if I'm there, well, let's say I'm there with, my partner and my child.
Yeah.
What's on offer?
Okay, so as I mentioned before, it's a town that's open all year round. So what you have in the town, that you have a lot of plazas, and a lot of plazas cater for different types of restaurants. It's very family orientated. You find in Spain a lot of the people, families go out late at night. The children are allowed to enjoy all different times, all to do with the weather as well. But that sort of thing is a popular thing to do. A cafe in Fuengirola is, or having a coffee, it's part of the working day. Everybody goes out to have a cafe. Everybody spends a lot of time outdoors. I also mentioned the promenade. Well, that area has sports facilities throughout the promenade. So
Okay.
you'll see a lot of people out 6 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock at night. There's yoga on the beach. There's different water facilities. Then you have also the gastronomy side of the town. I mean, there are some of the best restaurants, I have to say, are in Fuengirola. One of the best seafood restaurants is voted in Spain, is in Fuengirola as well.
Okay. Great.
So there's a variety. But I think what I would say identifies Fuengirola is they're trying to keep it as a very family orientated town. For example, like the beach bars, there's a lot of beach clubs in this coast. But in Fuengirola, they're not allowed to have live music on late at night. But that's the reason for that is because they want to keep it more as a family resort.
That's good to know. That's really, really good to know. And I know for one, I mean, I used to live in Spain myself, but I was sort of on another sort of costa. But the restaurants are open quite late there, aren't they? Because it's so hot throughout the summer, and even in the winter, it's really nice and mild. You don't want to eat a big meal at sort of 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. So a lot of people kind of they tend to eat much later, don't they? They tend to go out much later, which is it's a bit of a weird thing for us Brits, I think, because we sort of tend to have tea at sort of 6:37, but you can't do that in Spain. It's too hot.
That's true. That it's all related with the weather. It is just too hot, and the truth is, a lot of people, especially the Spanish, they go to the beach after lunchtime. They go 4 or 5. So you
Mm,
imagine if the sun is shining till 8 and 9 o'clock at night. That's the to me that's the best part of the day because the sand is not extremely hot. It's bearable. It's just lovely. So people will go out for dinner at 10. It does sound a little bit crazy, especially I know coming from the UK and the children are in a routine. But the truth is, if you spend perhaps the first week, you're sort of adapting to that second week and you start enjoying that side of things because, as I say, you see children and families all over town. And it's lovely. It's a nice atmosphere.
good. And talking about restaurants and bars, I have actually been to Fuengirola, and I went I went to a bar. It was a really nice restaurant actually, but it was called Bar Colon. And
That is,
I was with a couple of friends of mine, and it was really just a kind of a short stop. And they sort of said, "Oh, where do you want to eat?" And I was wandering around. We were walking around the plaza, which was really nice actually, lovely little
yeah,
church, and then we
yeah.
came across this place, and they sort of said, "Oh, do you want to eat at Bar Colon?" And I was sort of thinking, "Oh God, what's going to happen later?" But no,
It
it
is
was a really
quite
nice
a
place. It was a really nice place.
it's a standard joke because it's quite
Yeah,
funny with foreigners. My husband's British, so I get all
yeah,
the culture, and it is the truth. But that area, it's also located. If you've been, it's a plaza, and what
yeah.
happens is like through the little side streets because that area has grown immensely and is one of the most popular for eating, and all the little side streets have grown, so you've got restaurants and different types of venues to enjoy, all that branches out from that popular plaza, as you say, not far from the church square.
Mm,
But that's exactly the type of atmosphere, as I say, coming November, December, perhaps when we're not fully as busy as August, but you'll find that in Fuengirola, there's always atmosphere. And saying that, I think our seasons have changed. I think now there's Fuengirola is as much as a winter destination as it is a summer destination because a lot of people don't want to come in the heat. A lot of
yeah.
Scandinavian nationalities, which enjoy Fuengirola very much, come in the winter. So there's different types of tourisms, but I would say that it's busy all year round.
And how is it for sort of accessibility? I mean, I know that you've got the train, and I think the train goes all the way down to is it
Malaga.
La Linea? Does it go all the way down to La Linea,
No,
or does it go? No, but there is
no,
a.
to
I mean,
Malaga.
I know that there's a very good sort of train service along that coast. It's sort of every 20 minutes or
Yeah,
so. But more from an
that's good.
accessibility point of view, how is it? Like if I was kind of slightly above my years, how
Hmm.
easy is it for me to get around town?
But you see that's a really good point, and that's what stands out from Girola perhaps from like the rest of the coast. So the train is called Cercanías. That
Okay.
train runs from Malaga city center, and the end is Fuengirola, and it
Ah,
stops
okay,
throughout.
right.
Okay,
Yes.
it's a fantastic service. It runs every 15 minutes back and forth, and it also has a stop at the airport. And you see, and I think that's what happens with a lot of people that want to come and they will choose Fuengirola because of this service. Because even not just the winter, but in the summer, when there's a lot of traffic, whether
Mm,
it's the A7 or the toll road, you'll find that the train just gets you to the airport without all this hassle. So it is a great service, but also from arriving to Malaga, so basically the second to last stop, it's the main, I would say, train station. and from there you can take the fast train to Madrid, which is in
Okay.
2.5 hours, 2 hours 45 minutes. But
Yep.
you can also take the train to Seville, to
Mm.
Cordoba. So it's actually fabulous in the sense that one stop from Fuengirola to Malaga, and you can reach anywhere. You can go to Barcelona, and then you can go Paris, and you can go London. It's logistics. We're in a great location. Malaga is in a great
Yeah.
location.
I think that's really, really good. I mean, obviously the train service is great if you're a tourist, but I think one of the things if you're wanting to buy a holiday home, right? I think one of the last things that you want to do when you've been on a plane for sort of 2.5, 3 hours, one of the last things you want to do is get in a really hot car, have
Well,
to deal with a rental company, right? Actually,
yeah,
having a train that's sort of
yeah.
runs every 20 minutes and is really good service and was reliable is fantastic. And I think when I took the train, I mean, yeah, I was in Fuengirola in sort of next to no time. It was really, really good. So that's really good. From a more from a point of view of if I'm walking around town, okay,
Yeah.
um, how easy is it for me to get into places? If I wanted if I had a holiday home or I bought a home there, and let's say I had slightly older parents coming out to see me and things like that. What about that?
Okay, so let me just explain a little bit Fuengirola, how it's composed. So there's the different names of the areas. So Fuengirola Centro is where you were with the plazas and all that. And then you have, so if we go towards Malaga, the next area is called Los Boliches, which is very popular with elderly people. But why? Because all these areas are hugging the beachfront. And as I said before, it's all flat. So it attracts the elderly people. It's very easy for them to manage. Then you have Torreblanca, which is also a lovely residential area, but also very touristic. And Torreblanca has a beachside, but it also goes up in the mountain. And then the last part of Fuengirola is Carvajal. Again, has beachfront and a little bit up. Then you have an area which doesn't have like the beachfront, which is called Los Pacos. And that area is I would say, the only area from Girola that has land left to build, because everything else it's been built. So that area doesn't have beach, but all these different areas that I've mentioned, what they do have is they all have their own like high street, or they have cafeterias or bakeries, supermarkets. So it's very easy wherever you are in the town. It's not very big. So that's what I said, it's very manageable. And I find,
Mm,
having been in business all this time, I've met a lot of people that have rented in different areas, or originally perhaps another area of the coast because they were recommended. And when they come to Fuengirola, they really, I think what highlights is exactly that, how easy it is to get the train, to walk in the seafront, that it's all flat, that everything is at a walking distance. Because I would say a lot of the people that come here, whether they're buying or renting, because we have a very big demand for winter rental destinations, they all
okay.
want to be within walking distance and to the train, because it just makes life easier.
Yeah.
And all
Yeah.
the area, the town offers all of that.
Good. Excellent. And moving on, well, not really moving on, but talking more about sort of the whole family aspect. For
Mm,
anyone who wants to move to Fuengirola on more of a full-time basis,
yeah.
what are the educational facilities like? Because obviously that's going to be important for anyone who moves there if they've got children, for example. So give me a
Yeah.
little bit of an idea about sort of the schools and all of that.
Okay, so Fuengirola has obviously local public government schools
Yep.
in each of these areas I was mentioning, like in the center, in Los Boliches, in Los Pacos. Each area has schools. There's also private Spanish schools that are available. And then you have actually a Finnish school, a
Okay.
Swedish school, and a Norwegian school in our town,
Oh, wow.
which is,
The the Sc
yeah,
the
it's incredible.
Scandis the Scandinavians really do love, Fuengirola then.
Yeah, it's incredible. They do actually exchange programs in their own country. They come and spend the
Okay.
year here. But I would say the international British schools you find in the surroundings towns next to Fuengirola. But there's plenty of choice for people that want to come here if they want to. I mean, I can tell you about my own experience. When I first moved here in 2000 from the UK,
Mm,
I didn't know if my kids were going to adapt. So I didn't really want to take them out of the UK curriculum in case things didn't work out. So I
Yeah.
sourced a UK school, British school, and I put them there the first year just for continuity. But it was very apparent that we all loved the first year here, and then I moved them to a Spanish school. So there is a choice for everybody, and since 2000, and I can tell you, there's a lot more schools now. The education, the standard of education is also very good here in Spain. So there's no problem with that.
That's good. And I think I'm right in saying there's no school uniform either in Spain, right? Or am I completely wrong?
Yeah, no, the private ones, some of them have uniforms, the
Right.
Spanish ones, but the other ones, no, they don't. They don't.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
correct.
That's one for the kids there, yeah. If you get your parents to convince you to move to Spain.
For more than one reason.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for more than one reason. I think that's the thing about sort of not just Fuengirola, but obviously Spain in general. There's just so many reasons why it's really really good for everybody, especially good for your healthcare as well. Talking of healthcare, what are the facilities? What's the process? Because I mean I know that there's sort of the state run healthcare, isn't there? But a lot of people
Right.
choose to go private as well. So
That's
how does
true.
that sort of work?
Okay, so yeah, it's the private health companies have different hospitals in different areas. So the main, I would say, the two main hospitals are, one is in Benalmádena, which is the adjoining town to Fuengirola, and then the other main one is in Marbella, the private ones. But they also have smaller hospitals in the
Mm,
town. For example, Fuengirola has two private hospitals that cater. And besides that, there is some other services that provide that facility for foreign. But you also have the local ones, which I have to say, they are fantastic. The facilities, you know, maybe waiting lists are, seems to be a standard
Don't
all over the world.
don't
But
start talking about waiting
no,
lists.
I can tell you as well that it works well. It works
Okay,
well. And if there's a priority, it does get treated at the right timing. So
right.
the facilities are there for all, whether you want to. If you are a resident here, obviously you have rights to use the local ones. But if you are coming here on holiday, or you come here, for, you're allowed 90 days, and you have the 90 days out of 180 days for the visits. If you don't want to live here, you have the private hospitals that you can use.
Okay. Okay. That's good. And what is what's the situation on the quality of the languages, specifically from a healthcare point of view? Because obviously, if you've got an ailment or you've got something wrong, you want to go to your doctor. Do they speak English or other languages as well?
I think if you go to the private hospitals, you have no problem. They all, the standard language is obviously English, with all these different nationalities we have living here. I
Mm,
think that if you go perhaps to the government, the local hospitals, you may struggle perhaps to with a specialist or something, that they don't speak English. Sometimes I've gone to translate for clients, or have helped them on the phone when they visit. I always say, look, I'm available if you need any help. They can call me. But I would say, if you go to the private ones, you haven't got a problem with that.
that's good. I actually learned a little bit of Spanish myself. I
Muy
won't go
bien.
into how I learned Spanish, but yeah, we'll keep that one on the down
You
low.
mean I
But
can't interview you then?
what's that?
I can't interview you then.
Not yet. No, I did, and I actually found it a relatively easy language to learn. I mean, maybe that's just me, I don't know. But if you think of sort of the other European, sort of Latin-based European languages, I think it's
Yeah.
relatively easy to learn. But how is it with the locals? How is it with sort of integrating with the traditions, the fiestas, and all that kind of thing?
I think we live in such a special town, as I said, that has so many different nationalities. There is a acceptance of to sharing the traditions, and a lot of the people that live here, foreign people that live here, I think that's part of the attraction of living in Spain. I think Spain maintains their authenticity with their traditions, and I think the culture is one of the things as well that attracts a lot of clients. It's not just all about the sunshine. The sunshine helps, but the traditions are good. So you find, for example, I'll give you one that is local,
Yeah.
which is San Juan. St. John the
Yes.
Baptist. It's
Yeah.
24th of June, and it's celebrated. It's a special day celebrated on the beach, water and fire. The tradition is to forget all the bad things, walk into the water, all the bad things are, your energy is gone. But what you find with that is that you'll see families, grandparents and children and everybody, big groups, and a lot of foreign residents or non-residents absolutely love this tradition because it just brings everyone together and everyone
Mm.
integrates really well. I find that I've never ever felt that there's been an issue celebrating the traditions of Spain with the foreign other nationalities. I actually think no, they actually love it to participate in all of this.
That's really good to know. That's really good to know. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things is there's a lot of traditions and a lot of festivals, and I think for anyone who's looking to buy a real estate, wherever it may be, but specifically in
Yeah,
Spain and Fuengirola, is get involved. You know, go out and get involved, meet the locals, network with people, get involved in the traditions and the fiestas. It just makes your life there so much easier, and I think so much better to an extent as well. But that's one of the good things about, Europeans, I think, in general, and
yeah,
Americans, and sort of all of us, is
yeah,
we all love that kind of thing. We all love getting involved and things, but
yeah,
don't sit back. Get involved. I think that's really
yeah,
important.
yeah.
Important to
That's
know. So good. Well, look, moving on to sort of living expenses and all that kind of thing. What is the cost of living? Talk to me a little bit about groceries, a little bit about getting around, a little bit about sort of train fares and fuel prices and all that kind of. Because obviously that's important.
okay. Okay. Well, the train ride, as I was talking, like, say, for example, from Fuengirola to the airport is like 5 euros.
Okay,
So that
fine,
is,
brilliant, good.
I don't need to say anymore. The
No,
shop, the shopping, I find the shopping is very similar, for example, to the UK, but I think perhaps like the fruit and the vegetables and that are a little bit more reasonable. Obviously, wine is very inexpensive. To do with wine and alcohol, I think people will find that a lot accessible here in Spain. Fuel prices, I'm sorry, I don't know what the UK ones are, uh, but it's
it's always high in
190.
the UK. Always high.
Okay. Well, I know it's about 190, to be honest. I don't take much notice when I put in the petrol. But it's cheaper than Portugal. That's all I know.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't look at the price.
No, that's okay. One of the things that I sort of used to really enjoy was the farmers market, right? Good local
Organic.
produce that you can go and buy throughout the year, and there was a bit of live music. The vibe was really good in the summer. Are there any of those for in Girona?
Mm, I don't think if I there is a market every Tuesday in the one of the well, you have every town has like a fairground area, and this
Okay,
is where they celebrate the different activities. So on Tuesday, the fairground is open for Tuesday market, and they you have everything there. You have fruit, you have second hand, you have brand new, you have everything. It's actually quite a thing to visit, and every town will have one of those. But Fuengirolas fairground area is quite large,
mm,
and so that's the one day. And on Saturdays they used to do like a second-hand market, and it's very popular for antiques and things like that. And that's been going on for well more than 20 years since I've been here. So it's
okay.
very good.
Have you ever found any little gems in the antiques market? Anything you think that you can sort of pick up and go, ooh, oh, these things that you hear about on sort of Antiques Roadshow a lot, where people sort of pick things up for about a penny and then and it's worth about £1,000. Any example?
I used to go at the beginning. I haven't been since, but I know there's a huge crowd of
Mm,
this, and I've heard that there's some very interesting things, but I haven't had the experience myself. Probably don't have the eye for it, but yeah, it's very popular, very popular.
good. Good. Okay, so let's look at the property perspective. If somebody's looking to buy a home in Fuengirola or Fuengirola, firstly, is it more? I know that you said it's all year round, but do you tend to find that people buy more there from holiday homes point of view, or more for sort of permanent living?
I think, Chris, that it's both. And I
Okay.
think it has changed since COVID. In all truthfulness, I think a lot of people are spending more time here because we can work remotely. So that's opened up the way in which we buy that second home. Yes, maybe originally was a holiday home, but I think you'll find that a lot of people spend their winters here. I think the winters are more economical for many obvious reasons, the cost of living, fuel and electric and all that stuff. So a lot of people spend that time. And a lot of people cannot live here all on the winters, but they can work remotely. So I
Mm.
would say the demand is for both. And I think a lot of people, perhaps because, as I said, we have different nationalities. So a lot of people perhaps are planning to move here eventually, but then obviously they buy that home to start as a holiday home, obviously make an income, because
Yeah.
everyone knows that the holiday rental is a big part of this destination.
Mm.
But they, in the future, that will be their home. So there's just so many different reasons why people buy a home here, and that has all changed. Definitely, I've seen a big change in the tendency of the market, and what people used to think before, oh, the season, this is when they buy, because that's
Mm.
exactly how it was 20 years ago. There was a rhythm or a wave when people used to come and purchase properties, and most of the time, I can tell you, for example, August is a time where most agencies, a lot of the agencies close and go,
Yeah.
leave the coast, because it's very difficult to work in August because it's very
Yeah.
busy, it's very hot. It's the properties are rented, so that means you have very low availability to do viewings.
Yeah.
But I tell you, it's a fantastic month. This year we had a record-breaking year
Oh
of
wow.
sales because people are now traveling at different times or from different countries from
Yeah.
abroad, and that is the time of year where they travel. So that's what I said. The market is open for all year round in that sense.
Okay. Perfect. And talk to me a little bit about property prices. Like, let's go through sort of the various levels. So, I mean, yeah, if I've got sort of 150,000 to spend, what am I going to get for that?
Not a lot.
Okay,
Sorry, not a
fine.
lot.
No, 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 it's fine.
I think, okay, what's happened now is because there's a lot of reasons the property prices have gone up. Obviously, we
Okay,
all know we've had inflation, but I would say on average, to give you an idea, a
yeah,
two-bedroom apartment second-hand around 290, I would say,
okay,
is the
okay,
starting point for a second-hand. Now, if you were looking at off-plan project which is starting, then I would say you probably have to go from 380 up. And I'm talking about the town of Fuengirola.
yes,
Obviously,
please, yeah,
different
yeah,
areas are different prices.
yeah,
But what you will find is that the value of off plan is always a lot higher than second hand. And then you have to think from the beach front backwards, the prices vary as well. So obviously a two-bedroom apartment at the moment, beachfront in Fuengirola, you're not going to find anything much lower than 500,000 euros. And it goes up again, locations. You may find a very small apartment in the center of town that is an older building or has no lift. Then maybe you find something a little bit cheaper. But I would just generally, I want just to give you a general
yeah.
price of the area, though those would be the prices.
Okay. But it does sound like from our conversation that even though prices have gone up, as we all know that they have, the value for money that you get back in returns is massive.
It is. And I know people feel that prices have gone up too much and that we've reached peak. And I actually disagree. I've been in this market for a long time. I've seen many waves up and down, but I know that there's so much demand worldly to come and live
Mm,
in this coast for all the other reasons that we've explained, that you see, and the fact that we also have still a lot of land growing on the coast, so just not Fuengirola, but towards Soto Grande, there's still a
mhm.
lot of land available for build. And while there's still a lot of land and projects, the prices go up and but there's competition. So not like other countries, for example,
Mm,
where they've reached their building capacity and they've peaked. I think Spain or the Costa del Sol still has room for growth. We're not there yet.
okay. Okay. Perfect. No, that's good. That's all good to know. Really, really good. And in terms of the sort of property buying process, I mean, I know that they say it's straightforward, Sometimes it can go like that. And I guess your job at the as sort of the agent, the specialist, is to ensure someone's process is as smooth as possible. But give me
Correct.
your sort of key points on the whole buying process.
Okay. So the moment you find the property, the first step is the reservation. The reservation is really important because what it does, it takes the property off the market. Key. Normally pay 6,000 euros to reserve the property. Second step is the private contract. Now, the timeline between the reservation and the private contract, more or less 3 weeks. That's when due diligence is done. Private contract, people have to pay 10%. That's usually the standard payment. I would say private contract is the most important part of the process because this is where the terms are agreed in this
Okay.
document, that legally binding document. Because after that is completion, that could be 4 weeks, it could be 8 weeks. The difference is that if you're a cash buyer, then you can complete anytime after that. But if you are buying with a mortgage, mortgage has protocols and they usually take a little bit longer. So I would say more than 6 weeks. But when you go to completion, it's actually you're going to fulfill what you agreed in your private contract.
Right.
And that's obviously the case of that. So yeah, reservation, private contract, completion, notary.
Okay. And key point here is lawyer. Get yourself a lawyer. It,
100%.
it's yeah. I think it still amazes me the amount of people who don't get a lawyer.
Mm,
And yeah, I sort of sit there and go, but if you were buying in your own country, you'd get a
mm,
lawyer. So the fact that you're buying overseas, it should be even more important for you to get a legal rep. I know that you can obviously recommend probably legal companies that you work with, which
yeah,
is good.
yeah,
And of course, it goes. I think it also goes without saying, try and get a legal representative who speaks your own language as well, so that way
that's
they can
correct.
translate and understand. And
It is a must, Chris. Having a lawyer on board, it's you have to because the due diligence of the properties needs to be checked by them. And in Spain, we love protocol and paperwork and certificates and everything. So it is important to have that. And the truth is,
yeah,
recommendations. Yeah, when you've been in business all this time, you build a network of professionals. And a lot of the times, the reason why we recommend, of personally, why I recommend, is because the process goes a lot more smoothly when you have a good relationship with the lawyer to because we're both working for that client. So communication sometimes breaks if the lawyer is not in tune. So I tend to recommend only for the reason that I'm going to make sure that everything follows through. And I can say it's always worked well for me. It's always worked well for the client.
good,
Most lawyers speak English. So yes, it's a must.
good, good. I'm glad we both agree on that. That's a very quick point. Just before we wrap up, I think one of the other key points that I'd quite like to make as well is the budget and the fees and the taxes that you have to pay, because a lot of people will sort of look at their budget, and I'm sure you've experienced this as well yourself,
Yeah.
Dixie. But I think a lot of people will look at the budget and they go, right, I've got 250,000 to spend, but they won't realize that there's taxes and fees on top of that budget. So
Correct.
you might have 250,000 to spend, but that 250 has essentially got to cover you for the property price and the taxes
Correct.
fees, which I believe are sort of anywhere from sort of 12 to 15% on top. Would I be
Oh,
about
yeah,
right
that's
with
a
that?
little bit too high. A little bit too
Okay.
high. So basically, if it's a second-hand property, it's 7% transfer tax.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm going to just say a little bit more about that. That's very lucky because that was an incentive that the Junta de Andalucía, which is a governing body, brought
Mm.
in with COVID to incentivize sales. Our transfer tax used to start at 8% and it
Right.
was escalating. So they took that, and it's indefinite. We don't know when they're going to change. So a lot of people have saved a lot of money on purchases because it's a flat 7% for transfer tax, right? What is for new properties? That's different. New properties pay VAT and it's
Okay.
10%.
Okay.
And you also have to pay stamp duty, which is 1.2%.
Okay.
So those are the taxes for the properties. Then obviously you have your notary fees and your land registry fees. And I'd just like to clarify that. Everyone says it's 1%, but the reality it isn't 1%. It's more or less between 2,000 and 3,000 euros.
Right.
Not because you buy a property that is worth 1 million, it's going to be 1%. No, it's between that amount. So you don't have to think that you have to pay more. And then your notary fees, land registry fees, and obviously your legal fees. Your legal fees more or
Yeah.
less are 1% of the purchase price.
Right. Okay. Brilliant. Good. I'm glad we covered that because that's sort of one of the big questions that people always ask, isn't it?
Important.
And people always get confused about that as well. So good. I'm glad we've cleared that up. Excellent. Well, great. I think that's kind of given us a really nice sort of overview on Fuengirola. I'm going to say now.
It's very good now.
And yeah, so unless you've got anything else, it's probably important for us actually to say that if anyone is looking to buy, whether it's a holiday home or a full time home, do go and speak with Dixie or her team over at Mitchell's IPP Spain. Contact details, Dixie.
Yeah, my name, Dixie at IPPSpain.com. On our website, you'll find all the different contacts and phone numbers, everything. Just drop us a line and we'll get back to you.
Excellent. And we will drop the link below as well for you. Perfect. Dixie, thank you very much for joining us. Really, really good to speak with you.
Thank you, Chris.
Enjoy the weather because it's probably still really nice and warm where you are compared to where I
It's
am.
perfect.
Enjoy the weather and yeah, speak to you soon. Thanks, Dixie.
Thank you. Bye bye. Bye
Bye.
bye.